She stood almost naked in the dirt. Her dress was torn off. She held her arms around herself under the hot Wyoming sun. The men who did this laughed and spit at her feet. To the people watching, it looked crazy. But to the Harrison family, it was fair. No one said anything. No one tried to stop them. Emma Thompson was 28 years old. She had lost more than just her clothes. Her husband had died from sickness months before. His family came not to help her, but to get back at her. In front of everyone, they said she was worth nothing and just another person they had to feed. They made sure the whole town saw it. The heat was awful. It turned the dirt into red dust that stuck to her sweat and tears. Everyone could see how ashamed she felt. She did not cry out. She did not beg. Being quiet was the only thing left to protect her. But inside, her heart beat fast like a drum. The head of the Harrison family sat on his horse. His eyes were hard like stone. He leaned over and spit at her bare feet. His two sons smiled like wild animals. Their shadows were long in the late afternoon sun. When they rode away, their mean laughter filled the air like poison. The people of Laramie felt uneasy. Some looked away in shame. Others watched and thought it was right. In the end, it was all the same. No one helped her. No one spoke up for her. She stood alone in the dirt with nothing left but heavy shame. Then she heard something. Horse hooves, steady and sure, cutting through the last bits of laughter. A rider came toward them. He appeared against the bright sky. He did not hurry. He did not stop. Dust covered his boots, his hat, and his tired face. His name was Michael Rivers. He was 52 years old. He raised cattle and lived at the edge of town. Most people barely knew him. He got off his horse smoothly. The years showed in how he moved, but he carried them well. He looked at Emma once, then spoke. His voice was low and firm. "You're coming with me." These words were not a question. They were as solid as the mountains around the valley. As the dust swirled and the crowd held their breath, Emma wondered what she was getting into. She had been thrown out by cruel people. But was she now being led to safety or to something even worse? The ride out of Laramie was quiet. Emma sat stiff on the horse. She held tight to the rough wool blanket Michael had put around her. She did not look back at the town. There was nothing left to look back at. Only the dust and the laughter that still rang in her ears. By the time they got to Michael's ranch by the Snake River, the sun was setting. It painted the sky red. His place was simple. A worn house, a barn with boards that creaked in the wind, fences holding back a few stubborn cows. It was not rich or fancy, but it was solid and his. Michael helped her down from the horse. He was steady but did not talk. Inside, the house smelled of wood smoke and old coffee. The furniture was handmade and rough but strong. A stone fireplace filled one wall. Michael pointed to a small door and said, "That room is yours." On the bed was a plain cotton dress. It was faded but clean and folded neat. It had once belonged to his mother. For the first time that day, Emma felt something she could not name. Not comfort, not yet. But the absence of cruelty. And that was a mercy. She went into the room. Her body still shook from being so tired. While putting away her few things, her fingers found paper. A folded letter, half-written. The ink was old and faint. She read only a few words before her breath caught, "Mr. Harrison," about what happened in Colorado. Her heart pounded. Colorado. The Harrisons. The same men who had just ruined her life. Why would Michael be writing to them? Why keep such a letter hidden? She put it back in the drawer. Her hands shook. Suddenly, the room that felt safe now felt smaller and tighter, like a trap closing in. That night, Michael put out 2 plates of beans and bread at the wooden table. He ate quietly, eyes on his plate, never asking her name. Emma forced herself to eat. Her thoughts were louder than the crackling fire. Had she traded one kind of danger for another? She looked at Michael across the table. His face was marked with lines from age and sun. She could not read it. She wondered, with a chill deeper than the evening air, if the man who had saved her might also be tied to the very family she feared. And if so, what did Colorado have to do with any of it? The days that followed passed in uneasy quiet. Emma tried to keep busy inside the small house. She swept the wooden floors and folded and refolded the dress she had been given. Anything to quiet her restless thoughts. But unease stayed, thick as the summer heat. Late one afternoon, while standing on the porch, she saw it. A lone rider on the ridge east of the valley. He sat still as stone, watching. He stayed there for what felt like hours, not moving. The sun behind him cast his shadow long across the hills. Emma's stomach turned cold. She knew that kind of silence. It was the silence of a hunter waiting for the right moment. She said nothing when Michael came back from fixing fences, but her eyes searched his face for some sign. He gave her none. That night he sat at the table cleaning his rifle. The metallic scrape of the cloth on steel was loud in the small room. He did not explain. He did not need to. 2 days later, the rider came down from the ridge. Dust rose behind his horse as he crossed the pasture straight into the yard. Emma's heart pounded as she saw his face. One of the Harrison sons. He got off his horse. His boots crunched in the dirt. He reached for her arm without a word. Panic surged through her chest. But before she could cry out, Michael was there. The old rancher moved with the speed of a man half his age. He knocked the younger man off his feet. His fist landed with a sound that cracked louder than the insects in the heat. The fight was short, brutal, and one-sided. Within moments, the Harrison son lay groaning in the dust, scrambling back to his horse and holding his ribs. Emma watched in shock. She had thought Michael was only quiet and patient. But now she saw the fire beneath the silence. He did not brag or make fun. He simply stood there, breathing hard but steady. As the rider fled back the way he came, for the first time since her shame in Laramie, Emma felt something stir inside her. Not trust, not yet, but the faintest spark of safety. The ranch was quiet for 2 days after the fight. Emma tried to believe maybe it was over. Maybe the Harrisons had been shamed enough to leave her alone. But she knew better. Men like that do not give up. They only come back stronger. On the third evening, a storm rolled in from the west. Clouds piled high and black. Thunder rumbled across the valley like war drums. Emma stood at the porch rail. Her hands gripped the wood tight. When she saw them, 3 riders cutting through the rain. The Harrison father with his 2 sons. They rode hard straight into the yard. The storm broke around them. Michael stepped out of the barn. Rain streaked down his face. His boots sank into the mud. He said nothing, but the way he stood told Emma everything. He knew this fight was different. He could not win it with fists. The eldest Harrison sneered, pointing up at the porch. "She's ours by right. Send her out." His voice carried over the storm, sharp as a whip. One of the sons got down from his horse. He had rope in his hand and started for the steps. Emma's breath caught. Her body moved before her mind did. She rushed inside, grabbed the rifle Michael had left against the wall, and stumbled back to the door. Her hand shook so badly the gun wavered. Her finger hovered near the trigger. She wanted to be brave, but the fear made her whole body tremble. The son laughed at her shaking hands. He took another step forward. Then Michael's voice cut through the storm. Calm, cold, final. "I know what you did in Colorado." The words hit harder than thunder. The father froze. His eyes went wide. And for a moment, even the storm seemed to quiet. The sons looked at him, confused, but he would not meet their eyes. His jaw worked. His hand moved toward his belt, then fell away. Emma lowered the rifle slightly. Her heart hammered. She did not understand what those words meant, but she understood their power. The Harrison did too. Without another word, they turned. Mud splashed as they got on their horses and rode off into the storm. Their anger was swallowed by the rain. Emma stood on the porch. The rifle was still heavy in her shaking hands. Michael stayed in the yard, silent, the storm washing over him. She realized then that her life had been saved not by bullets, but by a secret buried in Colorado. And secrets like that have a way of coming back. The storm passed before dawn. It left the valley washed clean. The air smelled of wet earth and sage. The Snake River ran high and loud. Emma stood on the porch. The rifle still leaned against the wall. Her body was sore from the tension she had carried through the night. For the first time in months, maybe years, she breathed without choking on fear. Michael was already at work when the sun rose over the eastern ridge. He was checking the fences that had nearly blown down in the storm. His movements were steady, almost ordinary. Fighting the Harrisons seemed like just another chore to him. No different than carrying hay or fixing a gate. That quiet strength unsettled Emma, but it also made her feel steady. In the days that followed, the ranch took on a new rhythm. Emma began to move beyond the walls of the house. She weeded the garden and patched clothes. She even found a broken teacup tucked away in a drawer. She spent hours carefully putting it back together. The cracks still showed, but it was strong again. She put wild purple flowers inside and set it on the windowsill. Michael noticed. He did not speak, but he smiled. And that small smile said more than words ever could. For Emma, the teacup was more than just china. It was her life. Broken, fixed, not perfect, but still able to hold something beautiful. She realized that healing is never about erasing scars. It is about carrying them with dignity. About turning them into strength. And maybe that is the lesson we all need. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, like a man who works without complaining. Sometimes it is shaking, like a woman holding a rifle with trembling hands but refusing to step aside. And sometimes it is as simple as gluing back a broken cup and filling it with flowers. What about you? Do you believe Michael was a hero or just a man holding on to secrets darker than his enemies? If you were Emma, would you have trusted him? Or would you have run from the shadow of Colorado? In a world full of noise and cruelty, his quiet strength was still enough to stand against evil.